Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa String Works Workshop. Welcome to vlog 365, one calendar year's worth of vlogs, even though it stretches out well over a calendar year from start to finish. Let me know in the comments if you like that opening with a minute notice countdown there, or if you prefer just to go live like we've been doing in the past. I worked up the song again with the proper word from yesterday's discussion. I'm not going to tell you what the word is. I'll let you hear it in the song, and then I'll tell you how I arrived at that word when we're done. If we make it through December, everything's gonna be alright, I know. It's the coldest time of winter, and I shiver when I see the falling snow. If we make it through December, I got plans to be in a warmer town come summertime. And maybe even California. If we make it through December, we'll be fine. I got laid off down at the factory, and their time is not the greatest in the world. Heaven knows I've been working hard. I wanted Christmas to be right for Daddy's girl. And I don't mean to hate December. It's meant to be a happy time of year. But my little girl don't understand why Daddy can't afford no Christmas here. If we make it through December, everything's gonna be alright, I know. It's the coldest time of winter, and I shiver when I see the falling snow. If we make it through December, I got plans to be in a warmer town come summertime. And maybe even California. If we make it through December, we'll be fine. If we make it through December, everything's gonna be alright, I know. It's the coldest time of winter, and I shiver when I see the falling snow. If we make it through December, I got plans to be in a warmer town come summertime. And maybe even California. If we make it through December, we'll be fine. Not bad considering I didn't even tune it. Oh my gosh. Well, I didn't play the break all the way through it like I planned to play the break all the way through it, but we got through it anyway. Stuff happens, you know how it is. I'm used to playing the first half of that break, not the second half, because Leon plays the second half on the banjo. You know how that goes. But I arrived at the word here rather than cheer because I went back to his original album, the album that is titled If We Make It Through December. And in that version of the song, for sure, he says here. I'm absolutely positive. Well, thank you for that super chat there, even if I did mess up the break. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it very much. Um, anyway, I really love that song. It's really probably my favorite Merle Haggard song, though he's got so many that are so good. It's hard to pick a favorite, but that's probably my favorite. Uh, Mama Tried is another really good favorite. Lonesome Fugitive. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. And we do, all those tunes that I just mentioned in the band as well. I really just love Merle Haggard songs. Anyway, let's see here. The subscriber count this morning is 102,851. And we have added 1,229 new subscribers over the last 28 days, which ain't bad. That's not horrible. Could it be better? Sure. Some of the channels grow 10,000 in one day. But for my channel, that's not too bad. 1,229 over the last 28 days. I'll take that. Now I'm going to get on a greed rant. You need a good rant to get you going here. Get your blood up. Man, I'll tell you what. I watched a couple things on just the NBC news that comes over YouTube. And it just gets you going when you see some of the stuff that's going on in this darn country. It's just pitiful. Just pitiful. And 99% of it can be traced back to greed. I'm telling you, just plain old everyday greed. And if you name a problem, I'll bet you I can find a way that greed is the source of it. I don't care what your problem is when you name it. If you trace it back far enough, it goes to greed just almost every time. And like for instance, Medicare Plus plans. The thing that hit the news, or at least on the NBC News, was that the government is investigating the Medicare Plus plans because they're not paying out. They're not paying out things that Medicare would approve. And because of that, it's caused, well, I don't know the exact numbers. This part I'm just making up, but just so you understand, it's similar to the numbers I'm spouting. It's caused hundreds of rural hospitals to close already, and they're expecting more in the hundreds to close in the coming year because Medicare Plus is not paying out, and the hospitals can't cover the costs. Insurance is the biggest ripoff that ever was perpetrated on the public. I'm telling you, I don't care what insurance it is, and if you're an insurance salesman, I'm just telling you that it's still a ripoff. My daughter is an insurance broker for a big company, and even saying that, I'm not saying the individual people are the problem. I'm saying the companies themselves are the problem. They just don't pay out. They love to take your money and they love not to give it back. And that's just how it works. And the corporate execs, you can bet, are getting fat as hogs on your money. And anyway, the other part of this greed thing, and again, it's just ridiculous, is you've heard about the $700 million man, I guess, the baseball player that the Dodgers have signed with a 10-year contract. $700 million. I mean, give me a break. Do you understand that the ticket prices have gone up to nearly $1,000 a seat for the opener game? It's so stupid. It's so stupid. You can't even cut it with a knife. It's so thick. It's just so stupidly, just horrible. It's just pitiful. This country has gone in the toilet and the lid has been closed. It's just pitiful. Okay, I'm done. If you disagree with that, I don't know how you could, but if you do, put it in the comments. Oh my gosh. It's just pitiful. It's absolutely, and I mean, it goes to everything. Have you looked at, I said I was done, but I'm not. Did you, you've been to the grocery store, it's caught up there. It's caught up everywhere. It's just ridiculous. What a sad deal. All right, to get your mind off that, here's a firewood progress video this morning. I'm going to show you this every day until this pile of firewood's gone, so you'll see exactly how long it lasts. Well, there's what the pile looks like this morning. This is after 4 full days of burning. This morning here, filling it up this morning, represents 4 full days, 2 times a day. This is the 8th time I filled it up. So you can see there that I've used most of one trailer load. There's still another trailer load to go, and I don't know, I've at least used 3/4 of the one trailer. And this morning is really nice because it's only 44 degrees out here. Or I should say it is 44 degrees out here, which is, about 12 degrees above freezing for a change. So it's really nice this morning. Yeah, it just don't last. It just don't last. And everybody's giving me, ways to fix it, but it's not fixable. It's just like these hands. It ain't fixable. It just ain't going to get fixed. It's not unless I just tear the house down and build a new house, and I don't want to do that. I don't know. Like I said, I enjoy work. It's a little too much work, but I enjoy the work actually. But it is a little bit much. Anyway, here's another short video. This one's on the progress on the Bobcat, and this is not at all what I was planning on, but this is what happened anyway. My friends, progress was made on the Bobcat yesterday. Unfortunately, it wasn't the progress I was planning on. As I got into this, I realized how much grease and mud and stuff was packed down inside this thing. There's kind of like split into 2 sides, if you will. There's kind of a big hump through the middle. And on this side and on that side, well, on this side, I've cleaned about 2/3 of it. And it only took me about, I would say, 3 hours plus. Here's a little bit of what that looks like. Can you see that giant pile of grease down there? That's grease and mud. Plus, this vacuum has got quite a bit of grease and mud in there. That's more than it looks like, actually. And this bag right here is pretty much full of grease and mud. There's a little bit of extra stuff thrown right on the top of that. But this probably weighs 15 pounds of grease there. So I've got a lot more to do. Like I said, I've only got 2/3 of one side done. The reason I'm cleaning that out is that I think that could have something to do with my problem. I think all that grease and stuff has been packed up around, the lines, keeping them hot, and probably around the sensors, things like that. So even if it's not causing the problem, it needs to be done, and I'm just going to take time and probably spend the whole day today cleaning out grease and stuff on the inside. It is a total mess. Yeah, 3 hours, and let me tell you how that kind of went. I started off thinking that I could just, because that vacuum, that Harbor Freight vacuum, it has got some suction. I'm seriously telling you, especially when the filter's clean. I think it's more powerful than any other vacuum I've ever tested. And, I've had other new ones, shop vac vacuums. In fact, we've got 2 other ones that are shop vac. And they're very powerful, but I think this Harbor Freight one's more powerful. So with that in mind, I'm putting that down in there, and it's clogging the thing because it's choking it down with all this gunk, and it's coating the inside of the hose, which is not good. Which I didn't think about all that when I started, and didn't realize how greasy it was, And that took me like 2 hours, and I just wasn't getting anywhere. And what's in that bag and what was in the vacuum is what was about 2 hours worth of vacuuming. So then the last hour, I didn't even realize there was a hole in the bottom of that thing where I could scrape this dirt to the hole and poke it down through, and then it's falling on the ground there. And there's at least that much more in that hour. I probably got as much on the floor there as I did in the bag and in the vacuum. And I would say I still got at least as much on the floor there. I probably have almost that much more just on that one side to get out of there yet. The other side I haven't even looked at yet. And so I started off with you can't get nothing down in there. I mean, like the vacuum hose, you can barely get it down in just a place or two, and you can't move it once you get it down in there. It's just down. So I put a smaller, I necked it down to a smaller hose, and then I could move it around a little bit. But that just didn't work. More than about 15 minutes, that didn't work. So I've decided the vacuum just ain't the way to go. So I started with a little tiny 1/4 inch steel rod, and I started prying it, and it was like a spring steel rod, so it wasn't bending, but it was bending, but it wasn't like a permanent bend, you know what I mean? It would flex back. It was flexing, not bending, I guess is the better way to say it. So anyway, that wasn't working too good because this stuff was really tightly packed. I mean, I'm seriously telling you, it was like 4 inches thick, and in some places thicker than that, and other places a little bit thinner, but I'd say it averaged 4 inches thick. So then I went to a 3/8 thick rod, and I put a wooden handle on it because it was hurting my hands. And I'm bending the 3/8 rod and actually putting kinks in the rod, and I have to straighten it back out. That's how hard this grease is packed in there. It's not easy being me. But it seriously needs to be done. Because what I'm thinking is that heat builds up around, this gets all around those hoses and fittings and, all that stuff, and that heat, it's not good. So I'm cleaning it all out, whether it needs it or not. I figure that eventually I'm going to need to get in there and replace things anyway, so it's good to get it cleaned out. And, I'm sure it wasn't cleaned out when I bought it. I bought it about 5 years ago, and I'm sure there was a lot of junk in there already. And I'm sure I added to it because I keep it out in the brush, and there's little sticks and twigs and weeds and everything else in that grease and mud also. It's just a mess. I'm seriously telling you, it's not like concrete, but it's like if you took modeling clay and you're just trying to, if it was really packed in there, that's just exactly what it's like. It's just trying to get all that modeling clay out of there. Oh my gosh, is it a tough job? And there's just no room. I mean, it'd be easy. It'd be simple if you could get a scraper in there where you could scrape it, but you can't. You can't even get your hand down in there. So there you go. Woe is me. It seems like it's a recurring theme every day in the vlogs. Chipwood, it was the first one before we went live. Said, morning, Jerry. Thinking outside the box, would it be possible or practical to convert your wood furnace to burn pellets and maybe save wear and tear on your equipment? Nope, and it definitely wouldn't be cost effective. You can see how much wood I'm burning there. Gee whiz, you couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. And pellets, I don't think would ever heat up 400 gallons of water as well anyway. It just wouldn't be practical. I mean, coal or something might be, but there's no coal source around here. I don't know. It's just not worth it. Rod Wintler says, good morning from Berkeley. And there's Mark Nasdam. That's Yolanda's other half there. And Chuck from St. James. John Pepper, good morning from Alabama. Thanks for sharing your knowledge and experience through the videos. I know it takes extra time and effort to film, but the videos are really helpful. Well, thank you for mentioning that, John. I appreciate it. I'm glad it's helping you. This is just a fact, and I'm just going to say it. I'm not saying, oh, woe is me. I'm just telling you it's a fact. And that is, if it took me an hour to do the work, it would probably take me 4 hours minimum. And I'm saying minimum, and I mean minimum. I don't mean like, maybe 3.5 hours. I mean minimum 4 hours to put the video out. That includes videoing it, editing it, uploading it, tweaking all the tweaks you got to do. I mean, it was, if it was 1 hour of work, it was 4 hours of video. And there's no doubt about that. That's not an exaggeration. I guarantee you that's black and white. And sometimes I would say it was well over that. And I mean, occasionally it might have been a little under that, but very rarely. Chuck Heidbreder, have you ever tried a tangential turning tool on your metal lathe? I've heard of that, but I don't recall what that is at the moment. So you'll have to explain that one. So I guess I haven't, unless I've done it and just didn't realize it. Dean Barnes is there, Zappa, and he says, hit the like button, and I say, ditto, hit the like button.
Bruce Hines, good morning, Jerry. Hope it's great day, my friend. Well, thank you. It is. And there's Tom Super Chat there, which, oh, wait a minute. That scrolled way up on me. That jumped way up. Okay, here we go. Bruce Ducker says greetings right after we went live. Ronald Lewis, and then Brian O'Grady from London. Christia Thomason. She said it's above freezing in North Carolina. Well, just above freezing. Well, it's actually well above freezing here this morning, which is a wonderful thing. There's Newton Horn, old Bo, and he's a good old guy there. And Bruce Ducker, Steve Olson, let's see, Christia Thompson. Jerry, the countdown is nice. Lets me know how much time I have to grab a cup. Okay, well, we'll probably just do it that way from now on. We'll just give you a minute's notice. I don't see as it affects anything one way or the other, really. But I mean, I think it does allow you to have some notice that it's coming. But I mean, I don't think there's any negative impact as far as I can tell. There's Bob from Newfoundland, Canada, and there's Yolanda. Good morning, and Lon from Idaho. Bob says, rest in peace, Merle. Yeah, and Merle, he just seriously, it just was my hero in the music. And it was the coolest thing. And I know some of you have heard me tell this story 14 times already, but there's a lot of new people. And that is that we got to open for Merle. We opened for a whole bunch of country stars in the 90s. And I mean, really, I would say close to a dozen different country stars. And, of course, Merle was my favorite, followed closely behind with Devil Went Down to Georgia Fiddler, Charlie Daniels, there you go. Closely behind with him. And then there was several others that were really nice. Ed Brown from, or Jim Ed Brown, I should say. And there were several others, too, that were just wonderful to open for. They were just such nice people. But, you've heard me tell the story about Merle. And what happened was we did our sound check, and we got done with our sound check. This was, of course, before anybody's in the auditorium. And the people that were putting it on, they said, hey, we've got a big steak dinner for you guys backstage. Just go help yourselves. So I tell the whole band. And any other time, and I'm not exaggerating, they would have ran me down to get back there. I mean, they would have just went right over the top of me. This time, don't know why, they didn't even bother. They didn't even decide to go back there. But I thought, well, heck, I'm going back there. So I went back there. I got my steak. I sat down at this little table. I don't think I even maybe had my first bite, and in walks Merle. And I went, woohoo, this is cool. So there's nobody else in this room. Nobody. And so he walks over to the table, he gets his steak, and he fills his plate, and he turns around, and there was really just the one table in the room. I assumed he was going to take his back to his dressing room, is what I assumed. He goes, can I sit with you? And I said, yes. Absolutely. And he sat down there, and he and I just sat there and had our private conversation for about 50 minutes. It was almost a full hour. And he was so pleasant to talk to and so polite and so kind. And I've heard other stories where people said that wasn't the case, but he was with me. It was just absolutely wonderful. The best thing that ever happened to me. Anyway, at least in music, you know what I mean. Steve Olson, everyone, thumb up cause of the song. Well, thank you. I was going to tell you too. Because I know a lot of people are trying to learn these things. So again, some of you aren't going to care, but I just thought I'd mention. Here's the chords in the song. It's G, C, C minor. Then it goes to a B minor, E minor, A minor, then a D. That's in order when you're singing this first verse. So it's G, C, C minor, F. After the C minor, it goes to a B minor, then an E minor, then an A minor, then a D, and then you do the F, C, G, F, C, G. So there's 8, major and minor chords, not counting the sevenths. There's at least I put at least 2, probably 3/7 in there also. So there's about 11 chords roughly in that song. It's not a simple song at all, but it's a fun song to play. It's just a cool song. I really love that song. Of course, we always do Merle Haggard songs when we play live, but that night, because we were opening for Merle, I didn't do any Merle Haggard songs because that would just not be, that's just not done. You just don't do the star's songs before the star gets on stage. That was pretty fun. I'll tell you a funny story, a true story. And I don't think I was actually there. I think I heard this story secondhand, but I know it's a true story. Some friends of mine were opening for Hot Rise. What's the mandolin player? Tim O'Brien. So, and they were, and this particular, I'm not going to mention their band or their names or anything, but they were, I think they were down in Springfield, Missouri, and they were opening for, and it's not the boys from the Springfield Acoustic Shop. It's not those guys. I promise you it's not. Anyway, they were down in the Springfield area opening for Hot Rise, and it was a well-known local band around here. And of course, they did the faux pas of doing Blue Night before Tim O'Brien comes on stage. And that's just, you just don't do that. Well, when Tim gets on stage, he goes, well, those other boys did this tune, but I'm going to show you how you do it the right way. Or so, he said something like that. It wasn't, maybe not quite that blunt, but it was, but I'm going to show you the real version or something like that. And so you just don't do the star's songs ahead of the star, you just don't do that. So anyway, and he tore it up, of course, when he did his Blue Night. Anyway, moving on down. I think I've lost my place now. Let's see. There's Steve Olson, Rod Wintler, and Carolyn Fike, and Simon Jardine here. See, greetings from Scotland. Cool. And Inio Woohoo. Okay, well, thank you. There's Tom's super chat. Thank you very kindly, Tom. I really do appreciate that very much. Hugh Caldwell, Steve Olson, and then Mike Bennett. There's Kathy Volz again. Okay, here we got a comment or a question from Zappa. Jerry, if you want to grow your channel 10,000 per month, you will have to start modeling see-through fashions. I'm pretty sure that would go the other way. I'm almost positive that we'd end up losing 10,000 a month. And what I said was 10,000 in a day. There are some channels that have grown easily by 10,000 in a day. I've actually seen some of the channels say that. We just grew by 10,000 today. It's like, golly, that's crazy. But I would take 10,000 in a month. That'd be no problem at all. I'd love that. Gordon Bartlett from Buckhorn, Ontario, and Peter Luback. Let's see, I'm looking mostly for question marks at this point. John has a comment there, it looks like. It says, Jerry, have a look at this. Bobcat won't start fuel starvation, fuel pickup tube repair. Okay, I don't see anything there to look at, but yeah, I pretty much know what the problem is on that. That's not even an issue. It's just, I pretty much know what the problem is. I just don't know how to fix it because it's just, you can't get to it. If I could get to it, I could fix it in 5 minutes. But anyway, Steve Olson there, and then let's see, Cup of Cool has a question. It looks like, ever since you saw the fog rising on your pond, I've really wanted to hear you take the song Smoke on the Water Wheel and sing it in front of your bluegrass style. I'll have to look that one up because I don't know anything about that tune. Smoke on the Water Wheel is what it's actually called. And somebody said that was a, the guy that talks real weird. What's his name? Sings like that. I know who you're, or at least I know who I'm thinking of. I'm not sure he's the right guy, but I think that's the guy. Smoke on the Water. Okay. I'll look it up. If it's something I can do, I might try it. But a lot of times there's just some songs that just don't fit a person, and that might be one of them. I don't know. Anyway. Bruce says he agrees 100% about the greed and the rant, I guess, is what he's talking about, I assume. Yeah, it's pitiful. This country, the lid has already shut on the toilet. It's in the toilet and it ain't coming out. It's pitiful. It's just pitiful. And the greed is 99% of all of it, in my opinion. It's, everybody's got their hand in somebody else's pocket, and it's just give me money. That's all. Everything's give me money. And I can't even see it because money's just not important to me. I mean, it isn't. I want to be paid just like anybody else for a good job or whatever, but only for what it's worth. I don't want to be paid 3 times what the job's worth or 10 times what the job's worth, which is what a lot of people are getting paid these days. It's ridiculous. Gordon says, you must be enjoying the warmth of El Nino in Missouri. We're going to have a green Christmas up here in the lakes this year. Yeah, well, I don't know. Ours changes so fast here. Everybody says that about their location, but it sure does here in Missouri. That's for sure. Like the old saying, if you don't like the weather, stick around 5 minutes, it'll change. And that's just about right here. It's truly that way. Peter Lubbock, question, what do you make with the ashes from your heating monster? Is it any good for anything? Yeah, well, I mentioned it yesterday. I put the ashes on the garden, and I'm going to start putting them on my food plots. The ashes neutralize the soil here. The soils in Missouri are very acidic, which is why, being a kind of an amateur archaeologist, if you will, and having my Indian burial ground back there where they stayed for years, thousands of years, when I found that Native American grave, that's why I know there won't be any bones in that grave, because the soils are so acidic, they will be gone. And so ashes neutralize some of that acidity in the soil. And you can see that firsthand, like when you burn the fields, I'm colorblind. I totally colorblind, but I don't see black and white. I do see some form of color. And I can tell how green the grass is when it comes up after you've burnt it. When it comes up fresh, it is so bright compared to, after it's been growing the year, But the ashes really do help on that. So that's where we use it. None of it goes to waste, really. What about power washing? Yeah, you can. And I actually had done that already. I don't know, it was back this summer. I power washed the whole inside of it down in there, and I thought I was getting it clean, but obviously I wasn't, because this didn't just build up in the last 4 or 5 months. I can tell you that for sure. It just doesn't come out. This stuff's heavy duty. And so you're right, though. I am going to power wash it after I get it, hand clean as best I can get it clean. Then I'm going to go in there with the power washer, and I'm going to just try to really get it clean, but you can't. First of all, you'd be surprised how hard it is, even the wand, to get it around in places in there. There's so much stuff packed down in there, you just can't really imagine. It's unbelievable these days how the stuff is packed together like it is. Bruce Hines, how about using pressure washer on the grease? Yeah, so that's the same thing. And really, if I had one of those heated pressure washers, that would be 10 times better, but I don't have that. Does the Bobcat have a removable belly pan? Nope, it really doesn't. Not on this one anyway. It might have a small area back there, but I don't think there's anything large in the area that I'm in. It's pretty solid steel. Jerry, do you have any opinion on waxed jackets? I'm re-waxing a barber jacket right now as I watch. Great jacket for keeping you dry. Waxing a barber jacket. Boy, I don't even know what you're talking about there, Simon. I really don't. That one's going over the top of my head, man. Wax jackets. I assume you're talking about to keep them waterproof. You're talking about a real jacket you wear? I've never heard of that. It's never anything I've ever heard of. So there you go. Learning something new. Maybe maybe you can explain it some more, because I just don't get that at all. That one's over the top of my head. I don't even know how you'd go about doing that. Zappa says, Jerry, the countdown also lets us know if there are delays. Well, yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, good idea. There's Wemgok, or Wem, it looks like a GOC, I guess. From Somerset, UK. Thank you. Best wishes, he says. Larry Fisher, you gotta love Hot Rise's alter ego group, Red Knuckles and the Trail. Love them. Yeah, they're great. They're just killer. And those guys are so good too. I mean, that's just another band that was so good that you can't hardly put words on it, how good they really were. Their musicianship and all the stuff they did, they were just killer. And having said that, I wasn't even a real big fan of Hot Rise. I mean, I liked them and all that, but I'm seriously telling you, I don't discount their talent. Talent is incredible in that band. Just crazy incredible, in fact. But I did love their Red Knuckles. I loved how they did that. Is Tim O'Brien a good mandolin player? Well, only about 500 times better than me. That's about all I can think of. At least 500 times better than me. I mean, that guy's so good on a mandolin, it's not even funny. Christia Thompson, Smoke on the Water is a classic rock song by the Deep Purple band. Okay, well, no, I was thinking it was, I wish I could think of the guy's name. I know it, I just can't think of it. The black-haired guy, I don't know. Never mind. I don't know. I just can't. Names just never come to me. It's just so sad. Smoke on the Water was done by Deep Purple. Okay, yeah. Well, I don't even really know who Deep Purple is. I've certainly heard of that, but I don't know anything about them. I wouldn't know one of their songs if it jumped up and bit me in the rear end. Carolyn Fike, Smoke on... Oh, here we go again. Late husband's call name in the jungle of Vietnam. Oh, wow. He was part of a covert unit and moved silently. Wow, cool. Smoke on the Water. See, I don't know nothing about this. I truly don't. I don't even know. I might, I don't know if I've heard the song or not. But right now, I would say I've never heard the song. Once I hear it, I might change my mind. But right now, I would say I've never heard it. And Zappa says, that is interesting. Yeah, it is. The covert operation, that's pretty cool. Dennis S., good morning, Jerry. Love the channel. Soapstone is used to make wood-burning stoves. Wood, adding a slab of soapstone to your furnace to retain heat, allow you to burn less wood. If it was lined with that, it might help. It's possible. I don't know. That I can't say how that would affect it. By putting the stone lining around the inside, it might retain a little bit more heat. I really don't know. That's a good question. Now, the problem with even trying that, though, in this case, that the sides come to a 45. So, you couldn't just set stone in there because it would just slide down the 45 to the bottom. I mean, I guess you could lay the 45 up first and then stack it on top of that, I guess. But I'm not sure that it's an experiment that I'm interested in trying, but it might be helpful. I mean, I don't know. It's possible, I guess. Just don't really know. It's not a bad idea, though. That don't help me anything. James says, the wax jacket like an Australian slicker. Well, there you go. That's like saying an atom of hydrogen is just like an atom of helium. What does that tell me? I don't have a clue. I got no idea what we're talking about there. Literally, wax impregnated cotton jackets. They are very common outdoor working, farming, shooting jackets. They're quite expensive, but last a long time, as in handed down from father to son. Wow. Well, see, that must be an old world thing. At least as far as I know, I don't recall it ever seeing one here. I mean, I'm probably wrong. It's probably more common than I think because I don't get out much, you know. The truth is, I don't know anything about it, but I'm trying to picture what that would look like, and I might have seen those kinds of jackets here, but I didn't know why I was looking at that. Yeah, I don't know. I never knew anything about it until you mentioned it this morning, as far as I know. Marigold Time, greetings from Sweden. Thanks for checking Merle for me. Yep. Yeah, on his original recording there, at least on the original album, that recording said here. I'm sure that's what it said. So I'm just going with that from now on. Peter Labick, is the wax jacket, bell staff, motorcycle cloth very British? Don't know. Don't know anything about that stuff. Red Foley and Roy Acuff sung the same title, which was about WW2. There'll be smoke on the water, on the land, and the sea. I don't know anything about this song. I really don't. I may change my mind once I hear it, but I seriously don't know anything about that song. At least not right now. I'm pleading total ignorance. I'm pleading total ignorance to Deep Purple also. Even though I've heard that name, if you had a gun to my head and said you have to name a Deep Purple song other than Smoke on the Water, I couldn't do it. There's not a chance. Couldn't do it. Ben Boyd says, Deep Purple music won't translate well to bluegrass, in my opinion. If you listen to Smoke on the Water, I think you'll agree. Well, I'm going to listen to it just because, and if I can do it, I will do it, but I just don't know if I can do it. And I'll find out if it translates, and you'll find out too. And you'll find out how well it translates if I do it. Lon says, how about a song about a rose blooming for Christmas? Well, that's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea to incorporate, even if I write it about the two brothers coming home. You just never know. That's a good, I like that. That's a good line. Tom Waits. No, I'm thinking about the guy that everybody knows. I hate myself. I hate it. I just hate not being able to say a name. I can see his face. I can't. Bob something. Very popular guy. I just can't think of it. I think it's Bob. I could be wrong on that too. I don't know. It's horrible. It's just horrible. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. Back in cowboy days, they wore dusters that were waxed. Okay, yeah, and that's kind of what I had in my head as to what it probably looked like, when you said that. Can you turn the closed caption back on for us old codgers? I didn't turn it off. That would be on your end. That's done at your remote, actually. I'm assuming you're watching on a smart TV. Or it's done in the, somebody here will be able to tell you better than me because I never turn it on, but I know what you can do. I know you can turn it on. I cannot turn it on for you at your location. At least not that I'm aware of. I mean, there might be a way to turn it on here too, as far as I know, but I've never done that. Moving on down. Marigold Time. Well, I have heard Smoke on the Water in country version. Bob Dylan, yes. Ding, 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 ding. You won. Isn't it pitiful? Isn't it just pitiful? I can't think of names. I don't know why that is. How can I remember the words to 200 songs or more? I cannot remember a name for nothing. I can't remember song titles either. It's just nuts. Smoke on the Water bluegrass version. Okay, we'll see. Larry Fisher says Elvis. No, it wasn't Elvis. That's one name I probably could have thought of. He had a hunting. James says he had a hunting coat that was waxed and passed down from his dad. Wow, that's cool. That's another thing. This Smoke on the Water and wax jackets—they both just gone right over my head. I didn't know nothing about none of that. Not Bob Seger, Bob Dylan. I think. Yeah, Bob Dylan's the one I'm thinking of. Leon Redbone. No, not that name. I don't know him either. I mean, I've heard the name, but I don't know him either. And Bob Seger, I've heard that name, but don't much about him either. So I'm just being honest. I just don't know nothing about those guys. When you can play Thunderstruck in bluegrass, why not Smoke on the Water? Thunderstruck? I don't know that I've ever played Thunderstruck, because again, that one's another one I have no clue what you're talking about. It's pitiful. I don't get out much, guys. If it wasn't, as you can probably tell, if it wasn't old time country and it wasn't bluegrass, I probably don't know anything about it, and that's the truth. I mean, I've heard lots of pop songs and lots of Beatles songs and stuff like that, but I don't, unless it was real common, I don't know anything about it. Bruce, are you thinking of Bill Anderson? No, no, I'm thinking of Bob Dylan. I thought perhaps Smoke on the Water was a Bob Dylan tune. It just kind of sounded like it probably would have been, but no, I guess I was wrong, obviously. A couple calls as Jimi Hendrix. No. But I do know who Jimi Hendrix was, at least. I couldn't name a tune by him. I couldn't name one, other than I know he played the national anthem on his electric guitar, and he was left-handed, wasn't he? I know some things, but not very much about Jimi Hendrix. Okay, let's see. Moving on here. Bruce Ducker. Yeah, Zappa is right. Ulysses Hale is unavailable, probably because it's live. I know nothing about that either. The day Dylan sings Deep Purple, the apocalypse is near. See, I have no clue. Ulysses Hale. I know how to turn it on my stuff, but the button is not available anymore on Jerry's channel. Notice I said anymore. Just disappeared in the last week or so. I'd still say it's got to be something on your end. I'm 99% sure of that. You notice I left a 1% margin there because I'm usually wrong when I say these things, but I'm pretty sure it's got to be on your end. Larry Fisher, I just saw a bluegrass group doing Johnny Be Good. Yeah, we've even messed with that a little bit, just played around, but I couldn't do it. Thunderstruck by AC/DC. Again, Thunderstruck, I don't know nothing about it. AC/DC, I've definitely heard the name, don't know nothing about them. You could hold a gun to my head and I couldn't name a tune unless Thunderstruck is one of their tunes. I couldn't name a tune. Bill, hey Jerry, have you ever been to bluegrass in the Cravens in Tennessee? Cravens? Or Caverns maybe? In Tennessee? Or seen it on YouTube? It's a 330-foot, yeah, you're talking about Caverns, yeah. Inside Tennessee, Cumberland Caverns. I've seen it on YouTube, but I've never been there. No, never been there. Simon Jardine, Smoke, Ode to Water, and Thunderstruck by AC/DC are two of the most famous rock songs ever. That's why you Never heard of them. Yeah, that's probably true, but I seriously don't know anything about either of those tunes. I'm telling you right at the moment, I'm saying I've never heard either one of them. But I'm probably wrong. I probably have heard them. I mean, it's hard not to hear something if it's really popular. I mean, you'll hear it in a mall or you'll hear it in, a store or somewhere. You'll hear it. But as far as I know, I don't know those two tunes at all. Let's see. Cup of Cool. He was left-handed and played his guitar upside down. Yep. I think but my brain don't work all the time. Ben Boyd, if you do Smoke on the Water, you need to follow it up with Van Halen Eruption on the Mando. Guys, you're probably just overstepping my pay grade, really, quite a bit by even mentioning any of these things, to be honest. The Troubadour, Johnny Cash, my mother's favorite. Yeah, Johnny Cash was very, very, very good. Very good. Carolyn Fike. In other words, Jerry, you and I are not fans of rock. Well, I like to say I can enjoy all music. I mean, even rock and roll. Especially the old time rock and roll. I love a lot of that. Like Johnny B. Good and those kinds of things. Some of the newer rock tunes and things and where they jump into heavy metal and then the heavy rap and stuff. Not too much into any of that stuff, but most music, if it's good music, that's the thing. It's got to be good music, not just the fact that you're wailing loud, crazy, stupid notes on your guitar. That don't make it good music, in my opinion. If it's got some kind of a melody, some kind of a chorus, some kind of something that you can sing along or whistle along to, if it's got a melody, again, like jazz tunes, a lot of times they don't have any melody. I'm not into that. If it's got a melody, if you can whistle it, I probably think it's okay. Because I'm not like a bigot on it, but it needs to be music. It's kind of like modern art. They put this Sierra sculpture in downtown St. Louis. I am not exaggerating how stupid this thing was. This was the stupidest thing. And they paid, this was back in the 70s or 80s. Probably 80s. Yeah, it was back in the 80s. I'm sure it was 80s. They paid, I think, and this seems cheap now, but I think they paid over $100,000 for this stupid sculpture. And it was the stupidest. I can't even put the right words to it. The biggest piece of junk. If you would have put that on my farm, I'd say you'd have to pay me $1 million to put it on my farm. I'm not kidding. I mean, that's how stupid this thing was. I'm going to try to draw it here. Just going to try to draw what this sculpture looked like. I'm trying to darken this in. It's not exactly like this at all, but it's something similar. See that? That was the sculpture. And what these were giant panels of steel that were about 8 feet high and about 2 inches thick and about 20 feet long, each one of them. Each piece of steel. They brought in cranes to set the stuff in place. And that was it. And it just rusted and rusted and rusted, and that's all it was. And that was a Sarah sculpture. Sarah, I think was the guy's name. Sarah? I don't know. Famous sculptor. You talking about a ripoff. Right there's where greed started, right there. So stupid. Just the dumbest thing. That is not art. I don't care what anybody says. That's not art. It doesn't have any form to it. It doesn't take any imagination. Any moron with a half a brain could have done it. That's not art. I don't care what anybody says. That's not art. I know some people have some pretty bizarre taste in art, but that's not art. I can stomach a lot of things, but some things, and that's the way it is with music. If it's got a melody, if it's got some kind of rhythm, some kind of beat, some kind of, lyrics, something, it's music. If it don't, it ain't. That's just me. Uh, With a whole bunch more comments here. I'm going to get through these and try to cut this off here. We're getting long. Gotta Fly Lee. Filson makes wax or made jackets. They have liquid for re-waxing them. Yeah, well, boy, again, it's something I just never knew anything about, honestly. That's similar like 10 classical pieces you know, but don't know the name. Yeah, there's a lot of classical songs. And actually, I like some classic music. I have no desire to play it whatsoever, but I don't mind listening to it. It's not my favorite, but I can definitely listen to it and enjoy it. I saw Jimi Hendrix play Star Spangled Banner at Woodstock. Wow. Yeah, I bet that was something. I think that's where wasn't that where it started, I guess? That, his famous rendition of that song or something? I don't know. Again, I'm talking outside my head because I know nothing about it. Travis the Fixer says, don't forget to hit that like button. Yeah, please do. Bruce Ducker. I can picture it now, Jerry, doing a rap song about high glue. No, I have my own rap song I wrote, a bluegrass rap. That's what I call it, bluegrass rap. It's, I'll see if I can do it because I'll probably screw it up. But, it's how we often kick our set off on stage with this. I'll say, one of the things we like best about bluegrass music is all the jam sessions we have. Well, just the other day, my wife was at the front door and she was greeting them with hugs. And in the hall, I could hear a banjo. I think he was picking out some scruggs. And in the corner was a dobro and he was polishing his bar. And through the front door window, I saw a tiny car. And in that little foreign car was a big old doghouse bass, which only goes to prove we only need a little space. There's tuning keys and peg heads in every size and shape with catgut on the fiddle and nylon on the bass. There's a mandolin against the wall tuning up to get it right. And the guitar player strumming. I think he's set to pick all night. There's food out on the table, cold cuts, chips, and ham. Y'all pull your chairs up real close because we're going to have a bluegrass jam. So there's my bluegrass rap right there. So, oh my gosh. Man, I can't tell where I'm at here. I'm losing ground, I think. Let's see. Ben Boyd, in all seriousness, your band should the Eagles Seven Bridges Road. Yeah, I have heard those. I've heard Seven Bridges Road and Hotel California. I've heard those, definitely heard those songs. And we've played with that, a little bit of that stuff. You can't do Eagles tunes on YouTube. You cannot monetize them if you do. Eagles is the most locked down band in history in terms of their songs, in terms of their music. Yeah, there's something to that. I don't claim to know all of that either, but there's something to it. You don't do Eagles tunes on YouTube. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I've definitely heard it, and I've heard some stories about doing them. The Baker family from Missouri are fantastic. I've heard of them, and I've probably seen them, but I can't recall them offhand. Marigold Time. Bill, you were at Woodstock. We are not worthy. Yeah, that's just, you're famous in your own right there, just being there. There used to be a saying that people said about Woodstock. What was it? You were there or you weren't, or the rest of us weren't. I don't know. There was some weird saying that kind of elevated the Woodstock people or something. I can't remember now. Larry Fisher, isn't Mark Twain from Missouri? He did not like politicians either. He said they are like diapers. Should be changed often and for the same reason. You got that one. And yes, I've heard that quote a number of times. And yes, he was from Hannibal, Missouri. Or at least that's the story I've always heard. And then I've heard some other contradicting information on that. But we've always heard that he was from Hannibal, Missouri. Carolyn Fike, what makes me tired is that you can't escape the pop noise. I mean music, anywhere, restaurants, yeah. Yeah, if it's good, I don't mind it too much, but there's some stuff that's like the heavy metal stuff. I'm sorry. It just don't, it's more offensive than it is music to me. on some of it. Even some of that I probably could stomach, but some of it, if you're just wailing loud notes just to make noise, that doesn't do it for me. Sarah sculpture, 5 large metal plates. Yeah, it was the ugliest, stupidest, just most ridiculous thing that ever was put in St. Louis. They've got the Gateway Arch, which is so majestic and so wonderful, and they put this stupid sculpture there that looks like it's going to be, it's supposed to be some semblance of a steamboat that's going through the, oh, give me a break. It's pitiful, just pitiful. I'm seriously telling you, I would have charged the guy $1 million to put the sculpture there, is what I would have done. Let's see. Yes, was there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, 14, 17, 69? Oh, okay, he was there. Cool. It's con art. He says, yeah, it was definitely a con job, man. Whoever paid for that and bought that, it made me so mad. And what was really made it even worse was that was right outside my window. I mean, I was up above it. I was like on the 11th floor, but if you looked out the window, it was right there. It was exactly in my view. And man, I hated it. I absolutely hated it. Yeah, if the music makes you want to dance and sing, then it's good music. Yeah, I agree with that. Jason Wallen was the guy Bobcat Goldthwait from Policy Academy Movies. And that one's over my head. I have no idea what we're talking about there. Carolyn Fike with a bunch of applause. Smoke on the Water is Beethoven backwards. Okay, I have no clue. I can't wait to hear this tune because I have no idea what that's like, what that song is. Bluegrass rap, priceless. Well, thank you. Zappa, great intro. I used to hear that kind of thing on Hee Haw. I don't know if that's a compliment or not. That's one of those sideways compliments. Supersonic plane was Concorde. Yes, that's true. When I couldn't think of it the other day, as soon as we were done, I remembered it exactly. That's the way it always is. It has something to do with pressure. When the pressure's on me, I can't think of the names. I don't know why that is. It's always been that way. When I'm relaxed, they just come to me. I don't know. Maybe I should see another psychiatrist about I've never seen a psychiatrist, by the way. I've taken lots of psychology classes, but I've never actually been to a psychiatrist. Mostly because I used to work for one, and she was married to a psychiatrist also, and they were so crazy, I thought, I don't need any to go see one of these people. It's just nuts. If you remember, and I'm sorry, if you're a psychiatrist or a psychologist, I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend you, but most of them I've met have been a little bit out on a different platform than I'm on. Marigold time. Dillard and Clark, train leaves here this morning, would suit you. Okay. I don't know anything about that one either. It's noise, not music. Yeah, a lot of it is, in my opinion. Bill Dedrick, the memories of Woodstock are so vivid that it seems like it was last week. Yeah, I've had things like that. Zappa, Sarah's sculpture immediately became the target of graffiti. Yes, it did. I'll never forget the one graffiti, that probably the first one I saw, and it says, this is probably going to sound racial, but I'm going to say it just like it was written. So I'm not trying to be racial here. I'm just reading it the way it was written. Okay. It says, get rid of dis St. Louis. Dis, D-I-S. So, and that was the first graffiti that was on it. And I was like, yep, get rid of it. And they never did. Or at least, I don't know, maybe they have gotten rid of it since. I haven't been down there in 15 years, so I don't know. Yeah, but Hee Haw was super popular. Yeah, okay. Well, guys, I'm going to let that be it. I'm probably offended enough people this morning. And again, I just say again, I don't ever mean to offend anybody, really. I don't. I just tell it like I see it, and it's just the way it is. I can't wait. I got to look up Smoke on the Water by Deep Purple and see what we're talking about here. I'm pretty sure it's going to be out of my pay grade, but we'll give it a shot. Psychiatrists study that because their own problems. Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't know. I'm not going any further with that. I've already said too much. Y'all have a great day. We will see you probably Monday, if not before.